Hi, Greg the Brickitect here. Today we'll be looking at the third build from the LEGO Build-A-Book More Amazing Vehicles Volume 2. If you haven't watched my review on that book, I'll put a link in the description. I also have two other videos where I've made the first two models from this, and this is the third, titled The Chopper. Design note says it's a 4-cylinder engine, high handlebars, big headlight, gas tank, easy rider seat, and they consider this to be one of the easiest builds. Complexity, functions, and pieces. It's all 1 out of 3, so very easy. Hardly use any pieces from the build, but it was a fun build, and I want to take some time to show you some of the things I like about this, and unfortunately some things that I don't like. We'll start with the good, and that's the back end of the motorcycle. As you can see, it's got a square tail light with 2 turn signal lights, and I like the way they did that. It's got that white exhaust, which really bothers me. It's in pretty much every one of these builds, but it's okay. It's just a limitation of the original set. It had these white pieces that every time there's an exhaust pipe that needs to be built, you pretty much have to use them, so I'll let that one slide here again on this, just like I did with the go-kart and some other builds that I made of this. If you turn it around a little bit, you can see that there are some design here on the engine, and then this is like the foot pegs where the rider would put his feet, and then not a whole lot else going on there. If I spin it around, pretty much the same thing going on over there, but this side you can see how the back wheel is attached. It's kind of just a piece that goes through the two sides, so it kind of holds it in place. And up on top you can see the Easy Rider seat that they referenced in the design notes. I like the style of that, and I like that it's light blue. It offsets the red like it does in a lot of these builds. And then what I really love about the top of this is the gas tank. I think the piece that's used for that is absolutely perfect for a gas tank, the way it slopes down right in front of the seat. And I also like the little gray circular piece that they used for the gas cap. I think that looks really great and very much like a motorcycle. I also like the front right here, where you can see all of the angles that are kind of coming together to give it a rounded look when you have these very squared off pieces. Well done. So far in this review, everything seems to be going really well. Seems like it's really great, but then you get to the front end of this thing, and that's where things really start going downhill. The front forks and the handlebars is the hugest weakness of this entire build, and really just kind of brings it down quite a bit. I have to say, there are some nice things about it. It does turn back and forth, which is great. But when you look at the scale of it, in proportion to the actual motorcycle itself, like the body of it, it's just way too big. There is an excuse for that, and I would say that they probably did the best they could do with the pieces available, just for the fact that if you have a wheel that's too wide, like this one is, your front forks are going to be 4 wide. And the bad thing is that really does widen the front end of this up and make it look kind of ridiculous. And then there is the other major problem, and probably the worst thing about this, is that this piece consistently falls off. I've put this back together probably about 6 times now. It's so bad and so weak the way that it's connected there. It's not something you can really play with or move around. It's just kind of a showpiece, and that's unfortunate. I do like the headlight on the front, and I like the turn signal lights on the side, but that's about the only good thing about the front of this. The other bad side, if I turn it around like this, is that they do have the side view mirrors here, but the handlebars themselves are just terrible. I mean, there's really nothing there to even remotely resemble a handlebar, other than the fact that it does come out slightly, and I just think it looks really bad. The front end just is a nightmare, but again, you're making a chopper out of something that really you had no ability to make a motorcycle out of, and I think they did the best they could. And one thing that I'll say about it as well is that the front end does show you some other building techniques. These pieces are flipped over, and I kind of like when they're able to do something like that, as opposed to just making everything so straightforward. They flipped it over, and they did some techniques there that you may not have known about before, and it's kind of a learning tool, but again, just kind of a disaster here. And that's a look at the chopper from the LEGO Build-A-Book More Amazing Vehicles Volume 2. Overall, a nice build, but it did have some issues with the front end. I do think they did the best that they could do with the pieces available, and they did show a new building technique there as well, which is worth something. Overall, I'd give this a recommend. If you can have the pieces for this and build it, I would try to do it. Doesn't require too many pieces. So that is this week's video, and next week we have a really awesome one that we'll be looking at. It's going to be the Roadster, so I'm really excited about that. I thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.